Time to set the stage with the lights off. Let the little nigga breathe till the fight's lost. You ain't never like the room with the bright sauce. Hail Mary, they despise what the light brought. Let them roach niggas bleed if they can't see. sa.neter TV, what you can't be. They say that murder on my mind, now they can't breathe. Take a picture of the crew, that's your last peep. Oh, and need me your love, yeah, that's just me. Keep them jumping like some frogs, so they might be leave when the sun set. And they don't really wanna bleed from the gunplay. And like mine, niggas smoking weed on the one-way street, nigga. Yeah, we see we outside with it. Pull up to the base like we might be with it on guard. Side these niggas like bullshit and they fraud. Let me chop them down with the sword. Walk them down like they live bars. This the toughest you gon' be in, we too hard. And you don't really want that smoke, my G. Who would be sa.neter TV? This the toughest environment, the toughest environment, the toughest environment to be in, be in. Toughest environment, the toughest environment, the toughest environment. Toughest environment, the toughest environment, the toughest environment to be in, be in. Toughest environment, the toughest environment, the toughest environment to be in, be in. Toughest environment, the toughest environment, the toughest environment to be in, be in. Toughest environment, the toughest environment, the toughest environment to be in, be in. Keep that off your lip before you get flipped. We got sources over here, we don't just spit. Too many bosses over here, y'all just legit. Put them niggas in the game, let them get real. Don't even step unless you come in with that scholarship. That economic tip, gotta make a dollar flip. And I might be next, I don't give a damn, a truth rolling with me, so I'm feeling like the son of man. Too many gon' hate, gotta make a stand. I'm just trying to duck the lake, you don't understand. Read them when I greet them, that's my best plan. Head first shit, I'm just saying. Nigga meet me in LA, oh you just playing. Too many be fake, what the base saying. So I tell them they don't want no smoke before they end up in the newspaper next day. Smoke, this the toughest environment, the toughest environment, the toughest environment to be in, be in. Toughest environment, the toughest environment, the toughest environment to be in, be in. Toughest environment, the toughest environment, the toughest environment to be in, be in. Toughest environment, the toughest environment, the toughest environment to be in, be in. The toughest environment, the toughest environment, the toughest environment to be in, be in. Toughest environment, the toughest environment, the toughest environment to be in, be in. Toughest environment, the toughest environment, the toughest environment to be in, be in. Toughest environment, the toughest environment, the toughest environment to be in, be in. And this is it right here. The toughest you gon' ever be in. You wasn't conscious before us. Y'all niggas was asleep. We woke the sleeping giant. We did it. sa.neter TV. So stay your ass in your little bitty box where you feel safe. Cause there's motherfucking monsters over here. Real monsters.
Peace and Pan-Africanism. It's your brother Herman Smalls in the toughest environment you can be in. Yeah. Peace. What up, my brother? What's going on? Hey, how do you pronounce your name? How do you pronounce your name again? You hear me?
Ebionum Hanak.
Say it again. Ebionum.
So it's Ebionum, but
yeah, you breaking up. You breaking up.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you now.
Let me see.
Ebionum Hanak.
Okay.
Is it Ebionum Hanak?
Yes.
You breaking up, brother. We got to get this right. You breaking up.
I'm breaking up still?
Yeah, you was. Now you good.
Let me get this right. Let me see.
Yeah.
Now I'm good.
Yep.
Okay.
Hey, Bond Dog, I'll talk to you about that after or later on at the end of the show. I'll talk to you about that.
I'm sound now.
You sound all right, but you breaking up, man. You on the Wi-Fi, huh?
Yeah. Should I get off the Wi-Fi? How should I do it? Is it
You got internet? You got regular internet?
what's better, or should I do it from
Yeah,
the
you breaking
phone?
up. Yeah, you breaking up bad, bro.
Hold on. Let me get to my phone. Hold on.
All right. All right. Yeah, I could talk to you about that real quick now. Bond Dog asked me a question. He says, sa.neter, how do you think the Knicks going to do during the finals? I don't think they're going to do too good because we got Tom Thibodeau. We got to get rid of that coach. I don't like him. And he's the one that's messing it all up. We got to get rid of him. Got to get rid of him. I do not like him as a Knicks coach. You know? We always blame the players when they play, but when they lose, got to look at Tom Thibodeau. How you got Towns backing off every time they do screen and roll? You know, Towns backing off and they just come in and hit it with a floater. Step up, make the dude change that, run the other way. You gotta come on, man. All right, you looking better now. Let's hear how you sound.
I'm sounding.
You hear me? All right, you sounding good. You sounding better.
Okay. So this is what I'm gonna do.
Yeah, family. So you know what I'm saying, Bond Dog? And then you got good players in the G League, and you're not bringing them up. You got a 7'2" guy, and you're not bringing him up. He just got released from Dallas. How you don't bring that dude up here, man? You can get him. It's just crazy to me, man. All right, let's see how you working. You know what? Leave your camera off. Yeah. Leave it off. It might be better like that. I don't know. Because it's taking up a lot of get. Yeah, it's taking up a lot of round. So now if you leave it like that, I think it might be better.
Okay. Can you hear me better?
Yep. Yeah, I can hear you better. Yeah. Okay. But you gonna show anything? You gonna show slides, or you just gonna talk right now?
I'm gonna first I want to introduce what's really going on today. I'm gonna show slides. I got to get better at slides, but I got everything in my email that I'm gonna show.
All right, so yeah, you could get back to your baby doing your hair, brother. You know, let your baby finish doing your hair, and we good. You good?
Yes, sir. All right. So Sai. Okay.
Yeah.
So what we're doing here is I'm going to give you a shovel, because what we're going to do is we're going to do like a little role play. Wouldn't it be interesting to be able to dig these people up from the grave and ask these people, what did the gospel sound like in your time?
Yeah, that would be really yeah. Yep.
So that's what we're doing, Si. What we're doing is we're going to go dig up some of these people. And what I mean by dig up, the only evidence we have is what you left behind, what you wrote, you know. So this is why I like writings, you know. So we're going to dig up
Please leave a detailed message and I'll return you.
We're going to dig up some people. We're going to see what the gospel sounded like in the first century. because a lot of people don't understand, Si, that the New Testament itself, a lot of it has been upheld to forgeries. The names did not appear on the New Testament until the 3rd and 4th centuries, into the 3rd or 4th century. And that's a problem. There were a group of people in earlier times that lived around the time before the Bible was instituted, and what you call the early church fathers. All right, the early church fathers. And so these early church fathers, they knew exactly how the gospel sounded. They knew what the original names of the apostles were, or the sectorial sect they went by. And so I'm going to show these things. And so, like I said, we're going to take this shovel, we're going to dig this information up, because when you look at certain verses, I'm going to bring that out, we're going to see that they were not always called Christians. All right. They were not always called Christians. And I'm going to show that. All right. So before we begin, let me I guess try to share my screen. Okay. Let's share the screen.
Yeah. Do you have a computer too?
Yeah, I'm on the computer.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you good.
Okay. Okay, cool. I'm gonna do tabs.
All right, you got to be ready, because you know Captain might be watching, Apostle could be watching.
Perfect.
You know?
Perfect. I'm cool with that. I'm cool with that.
I see it.
You see it?
Yeah, it ain't pop up yet though. I see it. It's still white. The paper is white. There you go. It's up. Your screen is up.
Screen is up.
Yep.
All right, perfect. Okay. All right, so what I want to show is real fast. I'm going to show a verse in Acts chapter 11. I believe it's 26 real quick. Let's see, Acts 11 and 26. What would you say, Si, would be the best way if I'm using my tabs when I share my screen? Do you think I should use the host? Okay, I can see how I do that. Never mind.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I see it. Never mind. There it is. Cool. I'm gonna say share this tab. Cool. All right. So when you look,
You know how to blow your screen
in,
up? You know how to make it large, big, bulk, bigger? Pause. You know how to blow it up?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, blow it up a little bit so the people can see it. The words is little.
Blow it up for you.
Yeah. And when he had found him, he brought him.
Yes, sir. You see it?
I'm trying to close my eyes.
Okay. So when you look at
yeah, there you go. All right.
Okay. So when you look at Acts chapter 11, verse 26, it says, "And when he had found him, he brought him in unto Antioch. And it came to pass that a whole year they assembled themselves with the church and taught much people. And the disciples were called Christians first in Antioch." All right. They weren't called Christians until they reached a town called Antioch. And so what we do is we ask people, what were the original names of the apostles and the followers of Jesus before they reached Acts 11, chapter 26, before they reached a town called Antioch? And so certain verses had given it away, but we never took the time to actually study who these people were called. Now, like I said, we're going to take the shovel. We're going to go dig up some of these people, what they call church fathers, early church fathers. They were early church theologians. Some of these people were connected with the early first Christians, such as Hegesippus, Clement of Rome. You had people like Clement of Alexandria, which Paul mentioned in Philippians 4:3. You had people like Irenaeus, Eusebius, Epiphanius, Justin Martyr, and other such like people. And I'm going to show this first. But first, I want to keep a scripture first and show you real quick. We're going to head over to another verse in Acts real quick. We can see in one of the verses, pull it up real quick. And peace and blessings to everyone that's tuning in, watching, bear with me. We're going to go to Acts chapter 24, verse 5 through 6. And you can still hear me well, can you?
Yes, sir.
Can't you, sa.neter?
Yes, sir. I can hear you. I don't think you can hear me, man. Everybody hear you, bro.
Okay. So, chapter 24, verse 5 through 6, it says, okay, cool. For we have found this pestilent fellow. Speaking about, this is talking about Paul. We have found this pestilent fellow, a mover of sedition amongst the Jews throughout the world, and a ringleader of the sect of the Nazarenes. Did you see that? Of the sect of the Nazarenes. So one must understand that they were called Christians. They went by various different names. They went by Nazarene, they went by Ebionites, or they went by Essenes. Now, this whole presentation is going to show that the people that lived before the Bible was constructed, they did not know them as Christians. They only knew them as Nazarenes, Ebionites, or Essenes, okay? Now, we're going to find out, we're going to show this, that this is what this is what Jesus was called, okay? Now, what's funny is there was no town called Nazareth. Now, the reason I believe that this was done, okay? The reason I believe that this was done was for the simple fact, so you wouldn't know what a Nazarene is or research what a Nazarene. So what I'm saying is, when you ask a person what's a Nazarene, their first response is, oh, because he's from Nazareth, so they called him a Nazarene. That's not the case. That was a throw off. If it would have just read exactly how it was said by the church fathers according to the Gospel of Matthew, if it would have just said he was called a Nazarene, people that would have raised like a light bulb in people's head and say, who are these Nazarenes and what do these people believe in? Because here's the thing, sa.neter, everybody has studied Buddhism. Everybody, I'm not gonna say everybody, people study Buddhism, people study Hebrew Israelitism, people study Christianity, people study Islam, okay? People study Hinduism, people study all these religions in the world. But how many people have studied these Nazarenes? How many people have studied these Ebionites? How many people have studied these Essenes or Essenes? Okay. Now, as it says, Matthew chapter 2, verse 23, and he came and dwelt in a city called Nazareth, that it might be fulfilled, which was spoken by the prophet, he shall be called a Nazarene. There it is, Aki. Yeshua was considered a Nazarene. These Nazarenes, these Ebionites, and these Essenes, they were a certain group of people that upheld certain beliefs. They walked a certain way. They had a certain dietary law. They believed a certain way about Yeshua. Now, understand that these people were written out, okay, and come along. Here we have all these epistles from Paul, but that's another topic. So I'm showing you that the originals, before they were called Christians, they went by Nazars, Nazarenes. And as you can see, the "en" in there, N-A-Z, Naz, Netzar, and "en." So we believe that the Nazarenes and the Essenes are mixed together, as well as the Ebionum or the Ebionites. Now I'm going to show you where the term Ebionum or Ebionites come from, okay? This is very interesting. Now I'm going to head over here to the Strong's Concordance 34. All right. Here we go. Strong's Concordance 34. Okay. Here it is. So when you look at Strong's Concordance 34, it says Ebion. How interesting. Ebion, which means poor or needy, okay? Poor or needy. Now, when we look at it, this is the Strong's Lexicon Hebrew, adjective, Ebion, poor or needy, destitute, derived from the root avah, meaning to desire or to be willing, okay? Now, what it says is often translated as poor in the New Testament. This Greek word carries a similar connotation of poverty and neediness, as seen in the Beatitudes of Matthew chapter 5, verse 3, okay? And I'm going to show that. It says the Hebrew word ebion primarily refers to the individual who economically disadvantaged or in need. It conveys a sense of poverty and destitution, often highlighted the vulnerability and dependence of such individuals on others on the account of God's substance and justice. In the Old Testament, ebion is used to describe those who lack material resources and are often marginalized in society. In ancient Israelite society, the ebion were often landless or without sufficient means to support themselves. The laws of Moses provide specific instructions for the care and protection of the poor, including provisions, gleaning, tithing, and year of Jubilee, which aim to prevent the permanent impoverishment in individuals and families. The plight of the ebion was a significant concern of the prophets. You hear me? Let's say that again. The plight of the ebion was a significant concern for the prophets, who frequently called for justice and compassion towards the poor. Okay? Now, right here, jump down a little bit more. Gives you Ada, definition, and want, needy and poor. Needy one, poor and poor man. All right? Then it gives you all the verses such as Exodus 23:6, Deuteronomy 15:4. I'm not going to go through all of these, all right? But you can pretty much get the objective. So what I want to go back to, what did it say? Matthew chapter 5 and 3. It's a beautiful thing. I'm going to go Matthew chapter 5 and 3. And we're going to see what Matthew chapter 5 and 3 says. Here we have it. Matthew chapter 5 and 3. Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. So this would be blessed are the ebionum in spirit, for theirs of the kingdom of heaven. For people don't understand, this was an actual sect. Again, they went by ebionum, Nazarenes, or Essenes. And like I said, I'm going to show this when we take this shovel and when we dig up these early church fathers, and these early church fathers are going to tell us that these are what the original first century Christians were named. And so everyone would have to go out there now and say, wow, okay, what did these Ebionites, these Nazarenes, these Essenes believe in? I tell you one thing, they didn't believe exactly how the Christians believe today. All right. And we're going to prove that. All right. So let's go into a little bit of the background of these so-called early church fathers, these people that lived around the time or maybe a little afterward, after the fall of Jerusalem. And we're going to see what they had to say about this group. All right. So now, here we have it. Share this tab. Here we have it. It says, the church fathers, early church fathers, Christian fathers, or fathers of the church were ancient and influential Christian theologians and writers who established the intellectual doctrinal foundation of Christianity. The historical period in which they worked became known as the patristic era and spans approximately from the late 1st to the mid 8th century. You see that? The late 1st to the mid 8th century. But what we're going to do is we're going to mainly deal with those people that live closer to the time of Jesus and his brother James the Just and the apostles before it got into the hands of the Council of Nicaea. And it reads on flourishing in particular during the 4th and 5th centuries when Christianity was in process of establishing itself as a state church of the Roman Empire. For many denominations of Christianity, the writings of the ante-Nicene fathers and post-Nicene fathers are included in sacred traditions. As such, in traditional dogmatic theology, authors considered the church fathers are treated as authoritative for establishment of doctrine. The academic field of patristics, the of the church fathers has extended the scope of term, and there is no definitive list. Some, such as Origen, we have Origen. And I want everybody to understand, all these church fathers that I'm going to show you, I have all of their books at home, probably besides 2 of them. And I believe that's probably Origen, and it was somebody I just realized today when I was looking at my book. But I have all of these books at home. I've researched them, and they are there. You can get these books off Amazon. And here's the thing I want to tell everybody. Just because this information is new to you doesn't mean that it is new to the world. It has been here. It's just that we have been stuck on Christianity and Hebrew Israelitism, Catholic, and all these other things. And so these people I'm going to show you, they are enemies of the Ebionites, the Nazarenes, and the Essenes. And some of these people are friends with the Ebionites, Essenes, and Nazarenes. So I know what you're thinking. Why would you want? I'm going to these people because even our enemies are showing you that at the time, these people existed, and this is what they went by. Okay? Just how we look at Paul when Paul says in Galatians 1:19, for I seen nobody except James, the Lord's brother. And we know that Paul is one of the enemies of James, but that's another topic. And so we love the fact that our enemies let the world know that we existed, okay? And our enemies are going to tell you what we believed in at one point in time in the 1st century before they got into the hands of the Council of Nicaea and before all these religions branched off from us. Now we're speaking about the 1st century so-called Christians, okay? And it says, some such as Origen and Tertullian made major contributions to the development of later Christian theology, but certain elements of their teachings were later condemned. The Apostolic Fathers, Christian theologians who lived in the 1st and 2nd century. You see this? We're dealing with 1st and 2nd century sources. We're not dealing with your shallow New Testament, your 3rd and 4th century source that did add the names until late 3rd, 4th century, which was considered forgeries, okay? Now, the reason I would accept Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, okay, because we believe, and we're going to show that the original gospel of Matthew was mutilated through Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. But first, let's stay on topic again. We're dealing with 1st and 2nd century, okay? Before your New Testament, again, before it got into the hands of the Council of Nicaea, who are believed to have personally known some of the 12 apostles. You see that? So the people that I'm going to bring forth are some of the people that actually known the 12 apostles, okay? Or to have been significantly influenced by them. Their writings through their popularity in early Christianity were ultimately not included in the canon of the New Testament, Once it reached its final form, many of the writers derived from the same time period and geographical location as other works of early Christian literature that did come to part of the New Testament. And some of the writings found amongst the apostolic fathers seem to have been just as highly regarded as some of the writings that became the New Testament. The first three, Clement, Ignatius, Polycarp, are considered the chief ones, okay? I love Clement, brother. I love Clement, all right? And I believe we're talking about, yes, correct, Clement of Rome. Now, for those who don't know, Clement of Rome was Peter's first student. He was up under Peter for 6 years. You can find his book on Amazon. It's called the Clementine Homilies, okay? This will be one of the books that I will be debating Captain Tazaryach with if he ever wants to debate, okay? Now, I'm going to show you. Clement of Rome, also known as Pope I. He was the first pope, was the late 1st century bishop of Rome, who according to Tertullian was considered was ordained by St. Peter. You see that? He was ordained by St. Peter. And we have his book. According to Irenaeus, we're going to go to Irenaeus. Clement was the 4th bishop of Rome after Analectus Eusebius. We're going to show what Eusebius says about these groups. Described him as the co-laborer of Paul and identified him with Clement in Philippians 4 and 3. Now, how interesting, because I had someone not too long ago say where Google said that in Philippians 4 and 3 was talking about Clement of Alexandria. So I'm going to show you in Philippians 4 and 3 that Paul mentions this Clement, okay? What it says is, indeed, true companion, I ask you also to help these women who have shared my struggle in the cause of the gospel together with Clement. There it is, with Clement. This Clement was an Ebionite. He was up under Peter for 6 years. Again, you can find his book on Amazon, the Clementine Homilies, Pope I. Okay? And we're going to show that the Ebionites accepted his book. All right? Now let's go back real fast. Let's go back. Now, what it says is the first epistle of Clement is the earliest extant epistle from the church father, the earliest. And this is why it is dangerous. In this epistle, Clement calls on the Christians of Corinth to maintain harmony and order, copied and widely read in the early church. First, Clement had been considered by some sort of the New Testament canon, listed as canonical in the canon 85 of the canons of the apostles, amongst other early canons of the New Testament, showing that it had canonical rank, at least some regions of early Christendom. And latest 14th century, IDK Keldum mentions it as part of the New Testament. Now, I'm not going to go through this whole, but I'm going to show you every one of these people that I'm going to use. I'm going to show you Polycarp talks about this so-called gospel according to the Hebrews and tells you what they carried around. Because what one has to understand, that Matthew is the only one that kept a written account of the gospel, that wrote a written account that was called a gospel according to the Hebrews, or what they call the gospel according to Matthew, okay? And we're going to show this. They didn't have a Mark, Luke, and John, okay? They did not have a Mark, Luke, and John. They only had the Gospel of Matthew, all right? And I'm going to show you. We're going to talk about Papias. It also goes into the Greek fathers, all right? Justin Mortier. I'm going to use Irenaeus of Lyons, Clement of Alexandria, Origin of Alexandria, all right? These are the people, sa.neter, that we're going to take a shovel and we're going to dig up, all right, what they said about the first century apostles and the first century so-called Yeshua, and the names they went by and what they carried. And I don't know if I might get into the beliefs or not, but I'm just going to stay on topic and show you that we far off, family. We are far off. We are far off when it comes to the New Testament. Now, to the Old Testament people, I just want to tell you this. Like Peter said in the Clementine Homilies, but because you guys do not know the first century Yeshua, you can't hate him. You can't hate something you don't know. You guys hate the Greco-Roman Jesus that Paul gave you. You guys hate the 3rd and 4th century that the Council of Nicaea gave you. That is the Jesus you dislike. You do not know the original 1st century Jesus because you have not taken the time to research what the 1st century Jesus was and what he said. So I don't fault you guys at all. So like Peter said, for those who love Jesus and don't know Moses, don't realize that they actually love Moses, okay? Also, and those who love Moses but hate don't realize that they actually love Jesus also, okay? Although they don't know him. But you don't, like, again, you wouldn't know this unless you did deep search. But again, nobody has did this deep research. A lot of people don't even know about these early church fathers, okay? So now we're going to go inside of some of these church fathers and see what they had to say about these early gospels, okay? Let's go down. Here we have it. Look at all these church fathers. I'm going to start first with Jerome. This is letter 57 of Jerome, okay? I'm going to share this tab. Here we have it. Letter 57 of Jerome says it right here. If any man is offended not in the word, and the same is perfect man, and able also to bridle the whole body, James 3:2. It says, once more, it is written in the pages of the same evangelist, and he came and dwelt in a city called Nazareth, that it might be fulfilled, which was spoken by the prophet, he shall be called a Nazarene. Matthew chapter 2:23. Now watch how Jerome breaks it down, how it should have sounded, how it originally sounded. What he says is, let these word fanciers and nice critics of all compositions tell us where they have read the words. And if they cannot, let me tell you that they are in Isaiah. So Jerome is going to tell you about this Nazarene background. And he says it's in Isaiah chapter 11:1. He says, for in a place we read and translate, there shall come forth a rod out of Jesse. Now, for those who don't understand, if I have enough time later on, I will show you that the Essenes come from the word Jesse. They called themselves Jesseans. If you take the J off Jesse, you have Essie, and that will be Essenes, okay? Now it says, and a branch shall grow out of its roots. Now watch what he says. He says, in the Hebrew idiom, it is written thus. This is how it is originally sounded. There shall come forth a rod out of the root of Jesse, and a Nazarene shall grow from his root. Do you see how they took that out? The original verse in Isaiah chapter 11, verse 1, it said, there shall come forth a rod out of the root of Jesse, and a Nazarene shall come forth. Now let's look at Isaiah chapter 11, verse 1 real fast, okay? Isaiah chapter 11, verse 1. From the stock of Jesse, a scion shall burgeon and get. Out of his roots a flower shall spring. So as you can see, they took out the Nazarene out of that. But according to the early church father, Jerome, he's telling you how it sounded in his time, okay? There shall come forth a rod out of Jesse, there shall come forth a rod out of Jesse, highlighted, and a Nazarene shall grow forth from his root. How can the Septuagint leave out the word Nazarene? This is what he said. How can the Septuagint leave out the word Nazarene? If it is lawful to substitute one word for another, ? It is sacrilege, either to conceal or to set a naughty mystery. Did you hear what he said? It is to conceal a mystery. Just like I told you when I said that there was no Nazareth. There is a mystery inside of that. They don't want you guys to research what these Nazarenes were. So let me tell you something, sa.neter. When I talk to a Christian, I ask a Christian, are you a Christian? Yes. Do you follow Jesus? Yes. Are you a Nazarene? No. How can you follow Jesus if you're not a Nazarene? How can you follow Jesus if you're not an Essene or Ebionite? Because according to the early church fathers, they knew him through as being a Nazarene. And they knew Essenes and Ebionites also followed the original teachings of him, okay? Now I'm going to go to another witness, okay? We're going to bring out canons. Canons after canons, witness after witness. Remember, Deuteronomy says you must have at least 2 or 3 witnesses. Well, I'm going to bring you like 20 of them things, okay? Let's go back, all right? Now I'm going to go to Irenaeus of Lyons. Irenaeus of Lyons. We're going to look at Irenaeus of Lyons, book 1, chapter 26, okay? Verse 2. Watch this. Now, Irenaeus of Lyons, here it is. He goes in and he talks about the Ebionites. Here it is. What it says is, here it is, okay. Those who are called Ebionites, there it is. Strong's number 34. These early Christian church fathers are not calling them Christians. They are calling them by the names they were originally called. Those who are called Ebionites agree that the world was made by God, but their opinion with respect to the Lord are similar to those of Cerinthius and the Capricates. They use the gospel according to Matthew only. Do you see that? The original Christians, the first Christians, only used the gospel according to Matthew only, not Mark, Luke, or John. Now watch this. And repudiate the Apostle Paul, maintaining that he was an apostate from the law. Now I'm going to show you that these Ebionites, these Nazarenes, are in the New Testament. And I'm going to show you that they did believe Paul was an apostate. It's an Acts, and I'm going to show you that. As the prophetical writings, they endeavor to expound them in somewhat singular manner. They practice circumcision, preserving the observance of those customs which are enjoined by the law. And they're so Judaic in their lifestyle that even adore Jerusalem as it were the house of God, okay? So I'm showing you, there it is, another witness, showing you that these people only accepted the gospel according to Matthew. These Nazarenes, these Ebionites. Hold on, we're going to get to the Essenes in a minute, all right? Let's go back. Here we have another passage from Jerome. It's going to be called Church Fathers Against the Pelagians, Book 3, Jerome, okay? Share this tab. Here it is. Now, as you can see, it says, here we have it. This is another witness. In the gospel, let me share that. Let me light it up. In the gospel according to the Hebrews, not the gospel according to Mark, Luke, and John. In the gospel according to the Hebrews, which is written in Chaldee, in Syriac, but in Hebrew character. Here it is, as you can see, it's used by the Nazarenes till this day. Do you see that? They didn't say it is used. They didn't say that it is used. Next door, you home? Okay. They didn't say that it is used by the Christians. No, they didn't say that at all. It is used by the Nazarenes to this day. I mean, the gospel according to the apostles, or as generally maintained, the gospel according to the Hebrews, which is written in Chaldee and Syriac. but in Hebrew characters. It's used by the Nazarenes to this day. I mean, the gospel according to the apostles, or as the generally maintained, the gospel according to Matthew, a copy of which is in the library of Caesarea. We find, behold, the mother of our Lord. Hold right there. This is an important thing. This is a fragment. This is a fragment that was found. We have 50 fragments that was found from the original Gospel of Matthew and what it sounded like. Now, guess what? I'm not going to bring out none of these fragments until I debate Captain Tazaryach, because when I show these fragments, it's going to go totally against the whole Hebrew Israelite teachings. If you believe in the New Testament of Jesus, okay? You're going to see that the fragments that were found, oh boy, Jesus didn't teach a lot of that stuff. So let me keep going. So what it says is, behold, the mother of our Lord, and his brethren said to him, John the Baptizer is baptized for the remission of sin. Let us go and be baptized by him. Okay. Now, like I said, I don't want to get into any of that too early right now. All right. That's another topic. That's just one of the fragments. Okay. So Jerome lets it be known that it is written in Chaldean and Syriac language, but in Hebrew character. Now there is a problem. I'm going to show you guys real fast references. I'm going to show you guys references. Let's go to Google. Proving that these gospels, that these people talked in Syriac or Aramaic, okay? I'm going to go to Daniel 24, Daniel chapter 2 and 4. I'm going to show cross references that this thing was, that some people consider what some people consider to be Hebrew was actually Aramaic or Syriac, okay? Now we're going to look at Daniel chapter 2 and 4. Here it is. Share this tab. Daniel chapter 2 and 4. As you can see it. Then the Chaldeans said to the king in Aramaic, O king, live forever. Tell your, you see that? Then the Chaldeans said to the king in Aramaic. So yes, they spoke Aramaic. O king, live forever. Tell your servant's dream, and we will show the interpretation. Let's go down to Ezra chapter 4, verse 7. Here it is. In the days of Artaxerxes, Bishlam and Mithridath and Tabeel and the rest of their associates wrote to Artaxerxes, king of Persia. The letter was written in Aramaic and translated. Aramaic and translated. Okay, let's go to another one. Isaiah chapter 36 and 11. Here it is. Then Elikim, Shemina, Jonah said to Reshka, please speak to your servants in Aramaic, for we understand. Do not speak to us in the language of Judah within the hearing of the people who are on the wall. So understand that a lot of this, the Greek was richly translated from the Syriac or Aramaic language, okay? The original Gospel of Matthew was written in the Syriac or Aramaic language, what people call the Hebrew today, okay? So again, there was no Mark, Luke, or John that the first century early Christians accepted. These Nazarenes, these Ebionites, or the Essenes. We have a problem on the hand. Let's keep on going. And also, we can also see that Paul actually spoke in these things. I'm going to show that real fast. Let's look at Paul spoke in Hebrew, I believe a Hebrew tongue. Let's look at Acts 21 and 40. Here it is. This should be it. Let's make sure. Here it is. Acts chapter 21 and 40. And when he had given him license, Paul stood on the stairs and beckoned with the hand unto the people. And when there was made a great tongue, he spoke in the Hebrew tongue. So understand, these Greeks were translated from the original Syriac Hebrew, what they call Aramaic, all right? So I'm showing you that these apostles, again, did not carry no Mark, Luke, or John. The only type of tax collector. I mean, what better to have a tax collector, all right, or your accountant write down what you said? Yes, I would have my accountant or my tax collector write down what I said, because he would be most best to do it, all right? Not taking nothing away from the other apostles, all right? Let's go to another church father. Here we are. We're going to go to Papyrus, okay? The fragment of Papyrus. It's going to be in chapter 6, okay? That's what it says. Here we are. Papyrus. Fragments of Papyrus. This is why I love fragments. All right? This is why I love fragments. This is real studying. So this is what we've been doing the whole time, sa.neter. We are taking a shovel and we have been digging up these people from around the 1st and 2nd century before it got to your so-called Council of Nicaea. And they are telling us what they carried, what they were called, and what it sounded like. Now, again, like I said, I'm going to save what it sounded like for Captain Tazaryach. All right? Let's keep going. Let's go down to chapter 6. Here it is. And it's going to read. Papyrus. Blow it up a little big if I can. Okay, here it is. Papyrus. As it reads, Papyrus, who is now mentioned by us, affirms that he received the sayings of the apostles from those who accompanied them. And moreover, he asserts that he heard in person Ariston and the Presbyter John. Accordingly, he mentions them frequently by name, and in his writing gives their tradition. Our notice of these circumstances may not be without use. It may also be worthwhile to add to the statements of Papyrus already given. The residence of the Apostle Philip with his daughter in Hierapolis has been mentioned above. We must now point out how Papyrus, who lived at the same time, relates that he had received a wonderful narrative from the daughters of Philip. For he relates that a dead man was raised to life in this day. He also mentions another miracle related to justice, surnamed Barsabas. How he swallowed a deadly poison and received no harm on account of grace, right, of the Lord. The same person, moreover, has set down the other things and come to him from unwritten traditions. Amongst these, there will be a millennium after the resurrection of the dead, when the personal reign of Christ will be established on earth. He, moreover, hands down in his own writing other narratives given by the previous mentioned Ariston of the Lord's sayings and the traditions of the Presbyter John. For information of these points, we can merely refer our readers to the books themselves. But now, the extracts already made, he shall add, as being a matter of primary importance, a tradition regarding Mark, who wrote the gospel, which he, Papyrus, has given in the following. And the presbyter said this, Mark having become the interpreter of Peter. This is how Mark came about, okay? This is how Mark came about. Mark, having become the interpreter of Peter, wrote down accurately whatsoever he remembered. So he tried to write down something that he could possibly remember, all right? I like Mark. Mark actually kind of agrees with the ways of the Ebionites, okay? But I'm going to save that for Captain Tazaryach, okay? Let's keep going. What it says is, it was not, however, an exact order. Did you see that? It was not, however, an exact order. Your Mark does not have exactly how it was in the exact order that he related to the sayings of Jesus Christ. This is why everything is all over the place. This is why we said the original Gospel of Matthew is mutilated through these 4 Gospels, and you have to stick your hand in this needle of a haystack and pull out what it originally sounded like. But you won't know what it originally sounded like unless you go and search out these church fathers, okay? For it says, for he neither heard the Lord nor accompanied him, okay? So it tells you Mark neither heard the Lord or he accompanied Jesus, okay? But afterwards, as I said, he accompanied Peter, okay? He accompanied Peter, who accommodated his instructions to the necessity of his hearers, but with no intention of giving a regular narrative of the Lord's sayings. Wherefore, Mark made no mistake in thus writing some things as he remembered. So understand, when the things you see in the Bible, they are trying to write it as they remember. And I can show you, even Luke said these things, and I'm going to show you that next. For of one thing he took special care, not to commit anything he heard and not to put anything fictitious into the statement. This is related by Papias regarding Mark. Here it is. Watch this. But with regard to Matthew, he made the following statement. Matthew put together, let's highlight it, the oracles of the Lord in a Hebrew language, and each one interpreted them as best as he could. The same person uses proof from the first epistle of John and from the epistle of Peter in like manner. And he also gives another story of a woman who was accused before the Lord, okay, which is to be found in the gospel according to the Hebrews. It's not talking about the gospel according to the Hebrews that's mentioned in your New Testament. That's false. He's talking about the gospel according to the Hebrews that we have been talking about of the first century, which they tried to destroy and mutilate, okay? And again, all we have left are the fragments that the early church fathers and they would tell us how it sounded in their time. And oh boy, like I said, Captain Tazaryach, you in for a rude awakening, brother. Let's keep going. Now I'm going to show you the same thing, even with Luke, how Luke starts off his story real quick. Let's go. I believe it's in Luke 1. Here it is. In Luke chapter 1, it tells you, verse 1. Luke chapter 1, verse 1, it tells you, for as much as many have taken in hand to set forth in order a declaration of those things which are most surely believed amongst us, even as they delivered them unto us. So these writings were delivered unto Mark and unto Luke. They were not eyewitness people. They were not eyewitness people. So this is why we only accept Matthew, because he was actually an eyewitness. Okay? Even as they delivered them unto us, which from the beginning were eyewitnesses. Who were the beginning from the eyewitnesses? Matthew, the tax collector. He was an eyewitness, and the rest of the 11 apostles and ministers of the word. He says, it seems good to me also, having had a perfect understanding of all things from the very first, to write unto thee in order, most excellent Theophilus. Okay? So as you can see, even Luke is like, he was not an eyewitness, but these things were handed down and were delivered unto them. Okay? The original apostles, the Nazarenes, the Ebionites, the Essenes only accepted the gospel according to Matthew in Hebrew in its term. Okay? Let's go back. We're going to go to Eusebius, who was another church father. All right? We're going to look at Eusebius, book 3. We're going to read chapter 39 first, and then we're going to read chapter 26, okay? 39 and 26. Here we go. This is Eusebius, Church History, book 3. I'm going to go down to 39. I'm going to do 39 first. Here it is. So, as you can see, Eusebius, he's second witnesses Papias. We talked about Papias already. And what it says is what? Oh, that's how she, okay, so that's how she do hers. Perfect. Okay. There are extant 5 books of Papias, which bear the title Expositions of the Oracles of the Lord. Irenaeus makes mentions of these only works written by him in the following words. These things are attested by Papias, an ancient man, who was a hearer of John and a companion of Polycarp in his 4th book. So as you can see, these guys are giving 2nd and 3rd witnesses of each other. These people really existed. For 5 books have been written by them, okay? These are the words of, here we go. But Papias himself, in the preface to the discourse, by no means declares that he himself a hearer and eyewitness of the holy apostles. But he showed by words, which he uses, that he received the doctrine of faith from those who were their friends. Okay? He says, but I shall not hesitate also to put down for you, along with my interpretations, whatsoever thing I have at any time learned carefully from the elders and carefully remembered, guaranteeing their truth. Okay? For I did not, like the multitude, take pleasure in those that speak much, but in those that teach truth. Okay, not in those that relate strange commandments, but in those that deliver the commandments given to the Lord by faith and springing from the truth itself. All right, let's keep going. He says, if one came and had been a follower of the elders, I question him in regard of the words of the elders, what Andrew or Peter said, or what said Philip, or by Thomas, or by James and John, or by Matthew, or by any other disciple of the Lord, what the things Aristian and the presbyter John, the disciples of the Lord, say. For I did not think that it was going to be gotten from the books would profit me as much as what came from the living and abiding voice, okay? What came from the actual voice of Yeshua, the people who actually heard it, okay? Let's keep going. It is worthwhile observing here that the name John is twice enumerated by him. The first one he mentions in connection with Peter and James and Matthew and the rest of the apostles, clearly meaning the evangelists. But the other John he mentions after an interval and places him amongst the elders outside the number of the apostles, putting Ariston before him and distinctly calls the presbyter. Okay, we almost done with him. This shows that the statement is true. Actually, jump down and get straight to the point on this one, because this one's pretty long. Get straight down to the point. Here it is. So when you look at Eusebius, verse 16, chapter 39, here it is. But concerning Matthew, he writes as follows. So then Matthew wrote the oracles in the Hebrew, and everyone interpreted them as he was able. As the same writer uses testimony from the epistle of John and from that of Peter likewise. Okay? He relates a story of a woman who accused of many sins by the Lord. Okay? Which is contained in the gospel according to the Hebrews, which we just second witness. Okay? That is a second witness. So they are letting you know that they walked around with a Matthew that was in the Hebrew language that Matthew wrote. Okay? Matthew wrote the oracles in Hebrew language of what some call Aramaic or Syriac. These are early church fathers witnessing and let you know this is what it was. Okay? Let's keep going. Now I'm going to go up to 26 real fast. All right? I'm going to go up to 26. Chapter 26 of Eusebius. (26 and 25). Baptism, just a muddy yard. Okay, maybe it's 27. It might be 27. Let me just check and make sure. Yeah, it's 27. Okay. So I'm going to go to 27 real quick. Counting the words. Samaritan, devil of the mystery concerning the church. So 27, here it is. The heresy of the Ebionites. All right. The heresy of the Ebionites.
It says the evil demon, however, being unable to tear certain others from their allegiance to Christ, yet found them susceptible in a different direction, and so brought them over to his own purpose. The ancients quite properly called these, here it is, these men Ebionites, because they held poor and mean opinions concerning Christ. Understand, this is our enemy. But our enemy is letting you know that these first century Christians were called Ebionites, or what they call Nazarenes. And as you can see, the reason why he considered to be called them poor was, he says, the reason why they were called poor, according to him, he's dissing them. He's letting you know that they were called poor because they had poor opinions concerning Christ. Eusebius, who are you to call them, to say that they had poor opinions concerning Christ? This Eusebius was what you would call a Christian of today. This is our enemy letting us know that these Ebionites are real, for they considered him a plain common man. According to the first century Christians, the Ebionites, the Nazarenes, they believed Jesus was just a plain common man who was justified only because of his superior virtue, and who was with the fruit of his intercourse of a man with Mary. Let's keep going. In their opinion, the observance of the ceremonial law was altogether necessary on the ground that they could not be saved by faith in Christ alone, but by corresponding in life. Okay, let's keep going. They were others, however, besides them, that were of the same name, okay, but avoided the strange and absurd beliefs of the former, and did not deny the Lord was a virgin, born of a virgin, and the Holy Spirit. But nevertheless, inasmuch as they also refused to acknowledge that he pre-existed, being God, okay, they refused to believe that Jesus pre-existed like the Christians did, okay. Eusebius would be someone that believed Jesus pre-existed. He's letting you know that the first century Christians, these Ebionites, these Nazarenes, they love Paul so much that the first Christians, that what they talking about means nothing, okay? Because this is what Paul said. This is Paul's doctrine, and Marcionite and all these other people, but that's another topic. Words of wisdom, they turned aside into the impiety of the former, especially when, like them, endeavored to observe strictly the bodily worship of law. Now watch this. These men, moreover, thought it was necessary to reject the epistles of the apostles. Now, if you look at the another version of Eusebius, it would say they rejected the apostle Paul, whom they call an apostate, which we just read in Irenaeus earlier, correct? From the law, and they use only, here it is, and they used only the so-called gospel according to Hebrews, which is Matthew, a small account of the rest, okay? The Sabbath and the rest and discipline of the Jews, they observe just like them, but at the same time, like us, they celebrate the Lord's days as memorial of the resurrection of the Savior. Wherefore, in consequence of such, of course, they received the name Ebionites, which signifies the poverty of their understanding. For there is by the name which a poor man is called amongst the Hebrews. You hear that? For this is by which a poor man is called amongst the Hebrews. That goes back to Strong's Concordance 34 in Hebrew, the poor, which means Ebionite. And like he said, the poor man is called amongst the Hebrews. So y'all guys do not understand that these poors, these Ebionites, were an actual sect. This was the sect that ran the Jerusalem Council in Acts chapter 15, with James, the Lord's brother, being the bishop, okay? We approve that later at another time. Witness after witness, okay? Let's keep going. Now we're going to go to Clement of Alexandria, okay? Clement of Alexandria. Here it is. With that being said, not only just Clement of Alexandria, I'm just going to give you witnesses, different type of witnesses and accounts, and showing you that they carry only the gospel according to Matthew. Here it is. The gospel of the Nazarenes. The gospel of Nazarenes, observers in Hebrew, is believed to have been the Hebrew gospel of Matthew and the source for the present gospel, which was composed in Greek. There are reliable witnesses that the gospel was both used and circulated amongst the earlier followers of Yahshua. Do you hear that? The gospel of the Nazarenes, which is in Hebrew, was circulated amongst the earliest followers of Yeshua and the diaspora. The earliest. We're not talking about your 3rd and 4th century New Testament, okay? We talking about earliest as 1st century, okay? Some believe it originated in Egypt. It probably could have. Because remember, he went down to Egypt. And that the latest possible date it might have been written was during the first half of the 2nd century. However, there are other opinions that it was composed in the middle of the 1st century when Jesus' traditions were first being produced and collected. An earlier date is more likely than later one. Now, notice how it's going to mention everyone I just named. Jerome, Eusebius, we're going to get the Hegesepius, who was also a Nazarene himself. The latter two, not quoting it, it makes mention of it as due Origen, who we just talked about, Clement, who we just talked about, both Alexandrians. It is believed to have been known to Papias, who we also talked about, who died about 130 CE, 1st century, and may have been quoted in his lost exegesis as the sayings of the Lord, which is now lost. It is significant to note that Nicephorus, when drawing up his list of canonical and apocryphal books, stated that the Gospel of the Hebrews contained only 2,200 lines, 300 fewer than Matthew. It was suggested that these 300 lines are the birth narrative of the 1st and 2nd chapters of our canonical Matthew. Okay, here we go. If you look at Jerome against the Pelagians, it says the Gospel according to the Hebrews. We read that already. Talks about its fragments. Okay. If you look at in Jerome commentary on Isaiah chapter 11 and 2, which we read that already, the gospel according to the Hebrews, it goes into its fragments. Here's another one. Jerome commentary on Isaiah chapter 4 on Isaiah chapter 11 and 2. According to the gospel written in Hebrew speech, which the Nazarenes read, the whole fountain of the Holy Spirit shall descend upon him, have just a mention. I'm sorry, go back around. Descended upon him. Further have just mentioned, we find the following written. Okay, not going to go into the fragment. Like I said, I'm going to save a lot of these for Captain Tazaryach. Okay, let's keep going. Origen's commentary on John chapter 2 and 12. The gospel, according to the Hebrews, okay, goes into the fragments. Here's another one from the gospel parallels in Jerome commentary on Ezekiel 18 and 7. You can get these books off Amazon. They there. To Matthew 5 and 23, the gospel according to the Hebrews, and in the gospel according to the Hebrews, which the Nazarenes are accustomed to read. The Nazarenes are accustomed to read. Remember, Jesus was a Nazarene, correct? The gospel according to Hebrews, or the gospel according to Matthew. Let's go to another one. Jerome commentary on Ephesians 3, on Ephesians 5 and 4. You can find these books on Amazon again. As we have read in the Hebrew gospel of the Lord, it says to his disciples, it goes into a fragment. I'm not going to go into the fragments like I said. Here's another one, Jerome commentary on Ezekiel 6. I think we just read that. Was that Ezekiel 7? Oh, yeah, we read that. Let me just read that to make sure. No, that was on Ephesians. So Jerome commentary Ezekiel 6 on 18 and 7. In the gospel according to the Hebrews, which the Nazarenes or want to read, there was accounted amongst the most grievous offenses. All right, there is another one. So you would have to go through these church fathers so they can tell you what the original gospel of Matthew and Hebrew actually sounded like, and the fragments that it had within itself, and what they had. Okay. Now here's another one. This is Clement of Alexandria, miscellaneous. I have this book. Okay. It says the gospel according to the Hebrews. Okay. The gospel according to the Hebrews. Okay. Matter of fact, I'll just read one of the fragments if it makes y'all happy. He who seeks will not give up until he finds, and having found, he will marvel, and having marveled, he will reign, and having reigned, he will rest. Okay. So Clement of Alexandria is letting you know that this is one of the fragments and what it sounded like at the 1st century according to the gospel according to Matthew. Okay. Here's another one, Clement Stramates. This is another one of Clement of Alexandria. And also it stands written in the gospel of the Hebrews, okay, which we know to be Matthew. Here's another one, Clement of Alexandria, miscellaneous, the gospel according to the Hebrews. Here's another witness of Clement Stramates, okay. Okay, that's just a fragment. Talks about the fragment, all right. Here it is. Now we're going to get on Jerome and illustrate his men. We don't have to talk about that because I got that next. I can blow it up a little bigger. I just want to go down. Let's see. No, I'll just read it now. It says Luke 24:50, gospel according to the Hebrews, and Jerome on illustrate his man. The gospel called according to the Hebrews, recently translated by me into Greek and Latin, which Origen often uses. Okay. So it was in Hebrew, what they call Aramaic or Syriac. It was translated into the Greek and Latin, which Origen often uses, okay? And I believe Origen was on the side of the Nazarenes, if I'm not mistaken. Another witness, Jerome Devoris, Illustratus, okay? I forgot what the name is in Greek, but I got it in one of these slides. The gospel according to the Hebrews, which was recently translated by me into Greek Latin, which Origen also uses. We just read that. So, as you can see, that these gospels were written actually by Matthew in Hebrew, okay? Here's another one that I've never heard of. I'm going to have to look up. It says Cyril of Jerusalem, Discourse on Mary, Theokotos. Let's see what that says. It is written in the gospel according to Hebrews, when Christ wished to come upon the earth to men, the good Father summons the mighty power in heaven, which was called Michael, and entrusted Christ to care thereof. And the power came into the world, and it was called Mary, and Christ was in her womb 7 months. Okay. I don't know how true that is, but I've never heard of that one. That's my first time. But as you can see, it says it is written in the gospel of the Hebrews. Okay. But they also do believe that, like they said, that they did branch off and there were other groups, okay, and they did have other books, all right? But I'm showing you that these original gospels were written by Hebrew, not by Mark, Luke, or John, okay? Let's jump back up. We almost done. I'm not going to say almost done, but let's go to Eusebius. This is book 3. We're going to jump down to 25. Book 3, chapter 25. Here we go. The divine scriptures. This is very important. The divine scriptures that are accepted and those that are not. Since we are dealing with this subject, it is proper to sum up the writings of the New Testament, which have already been mentioned. First, then, must be put wholly and quaternion of the Gospels, following the Acts of the Apostles. After this must be reckoned the Epistle of Paul. Next in order, the extent of the former Epistle of John, and likewise the Epistle of Peter must be maintained. After them, it is to be placed, if it seem be proper, the Apocalypse of John, concerning which we shall give the different opinions at a proper time. These then belong amongst the accepted writings, okay? Amongst the disputed writings. Now watch this. Y'all know how like people like try to say that that Peter tried to vouch for Paul. Well, according to the first century sources, the second Peter, the Peter's second epistle was not accepted. Watch this. And amongst the disputed writings, which are nevertheless recognized by many, or extent so called the epistle of James and that of Jude, and also the second epistle of Peter, and those that are called the second and third of John, whether they belong to the evangelists or to the other persons of the same name. So a lot of these writings were the second epistle of Peter was disputed. Jude and James also, okay? Now, let's go down. Here it is. In verse 5, it says, and amongst these, some have placed the gospel according to the Hebrews, with which those of the Hebrews that have accepted Christ are delighted. And all these may be reckoned amongst the disputed books, okay? So, all these witnesses are letting you know that this gospel of Matthew, that that was written in Hebrew or so-called Syriac or Aramaic actually existed. Now I want to go into this so-called Wikipedia, the Hebrew gospel hypothesis, and we're going to see. This is Wikipedia. It says the it says the Hebrew gospel hypothesis, proto-gospel hypothesis, or Aramaic Matthew hypothesis is that lost gospel written in Hebrew or Aramaic predated the four canonical gospels. In the 18th and early 19th century, several scholars suggested that the Hebrew proto-gospel, a so-called Ur gospel, was the main source or one of the several sources for the canonical gospels. This theorizing would later give birth to the two source hypothesis that view Q, okay, as a proto-gospel, but believes the proto-gospel to have been written in Koine Greek. After the widespread scholarly acceptance of the two-source hypothesis, scholarly tests in the Hebrew gospel hypothesis dwindled. Modern variants of the Hebrew gospel hypothesis survive, but have not found favor with the scholars as a whole. Did you hear that? So we have found 50 fragments, okay? But scholars today, Christians today, these fragments did not find favor amongst them. You want to know why? Because it does not agree with Paul and its Christianity. Okay, let's keep going. The foundation of the Hebrew gospel hypothesis is usually an early Christian tradition from the 2nd century bishop Papias of Hierapolis. Okay, according to Papias, Matthew the Apostle was the first to compose the gospel, and so he did in Hebrew. Papias appeared to imply that the Hebrew or Aramaic gospel, sometimes called the authentic Matthew, was subsequently translated into the canonical gospel of Matthew. Jerome took his information one step further and claimed that all the known Jewish Christian gospels really were one and the same. They were supposed to have been one and the same. And that is the gospel. And this was the authentic Matthew. There was never supposed to be no Mark, Luke, or John. There was only supposed to be the gospel of Matthew. As a consequence, he assigned all known quotations from Jewish Christian gospels to the gospel of the Hebrews. But modern studies have shown this to be untenable. Okay? The hypotheses have some overlap with the Aramaic original New Testament theory, which posits gospels originally written in Aramaic rather than Hebrew. Modern versions of the Hebrew gospel hypothesis often overlap with the Augustine hypothesis. Let's keep going. Peace and blessings. Here we are. Here's another one, Eusebius. And I don't have this book. I just discovered this in one of my books today, that this was another writing. This is called Eusebius of Caesarea Theophania. This is book 4, chapter 12, or verse 12. This is my first time discovering this today. Peace and blessings. Okay. Now I know the word is pretty small. So what I'm going to do is I want to see if I can try to find it. Okay, here it is down here. Here's a fragment. Okay. It says, on the things which he prophesied against the Jewish people in parables from the gospel of Matthew. Okay. From the gospel of Matthew, not Mark, not Luke, not John. Now here it is. I want to read it. Think not that I'm come to send forth peace on earth. I come not to send peace, but a sword. For I divide man against his father, and the daughter-in-law against the mother-in-law, and the enemy shall be a man of his own house, as Luke renounced. Think ye that I say unto you, no, but divisions. For thou shalt henceforth, when I find it, I'm going to blow it up, but I'm going to keep reading. Henceforth, 5 in one house, he shall be divided, 3 against 2, 2 against 3, and the father shall be divided against his son, the son against his father, the mother shall be divided against her daughter, daughter against her mother, and the mother-in-law against her daughter-in-law, the daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law. And who it's not astonished that the things which should take place in every individual house in times far removed from those of the prediction, and even up to time, did not remain hidden to the foreknowledge of our Savior. For he foretold his disciples that the things which up to this time are taking place just as present to the things themselves, and making the circuit of the dwellings of the children of men, things which hitherto have not existed, nor did they at the time period in which he announced these words, nor were there yet any such things. They were then heard only by the ear. But now that the predictions has in fact come into this complexion and is visible to the eyes, how can anyone who would think justly but confess that they are in truth words of God? And again, in these things also, for I am come to divide and send forth a sword, and the divisions amongst the children of men. Likewise, we see with our own eyes that no man, that no word of man, either a philosopher or prophet, whether Greek or barbarian, ever shows such forth power at this. He should so hold the whole creation that there were a division in every house, that he should pass through the distinguish every race throughout all their families, and that these some should be considered as his own, and others as opposed by these. But it was our Savior alone and this word of God who promised to do this, and he confirmed the promise in the very deed. The cause, therefore, of the divisions of the soul came to pass in the house himself. He taught, as we have found in the place, here it is, as we have found, pass in the house, he himself taught, as we have found in a place in the gospel existing amongst the Jews in Hebrew language, in which it is said, and then it gives you a fragment, okay? It gives you a fragment, okay? I like to read this fragment for the simple fact I just came across this today. So let's read this all together today. I will select to myself these things, very excellent are those whom are my fathers, who is in heaven has given unto me, okay? This is a fragment I just found today that was in Eusebius, okay? And like it said, the gospel was written in the Hebrew tongue, all right? So like I said, we have 50 fragments of these, all right? Let's keep going. Now we're going to go to Epiphanius. Epiphanius is the biggest heretic against heresy writer of all. Now, before I show you, I'm going to show you guys his book real fast, and we're going to see if he says anything about against Christians. Watch this. Epiphanius. Okay, here it is. I'm going to share my screen here in a second. Let me get it real quick. I get the PDF. There it is. There it is. Epiphanius. I want to share this tab. Okay, here is another church father. I think he was a church father. Yeah, I believe, yeah, Panarian of Epiphanius of Salamis. Now watch this. We're going to go into his table of content. We're going to show you all the religions. He's going to talk against every religion. Why? Because they love Marcionites. They love Paul. Okay. Here is his table of contents right here. We get into it. Come on now. Where is it? Okay, here's the contents. Here it is. Now, here's his contents. He goes against, it's barbarism. They believe barbarism was the first religion amongst Adam. Scythism, Hellenism, Judaism, against Stoics, Platonists, Pythagoreans, Epicureans, Judaism. Continue. Now watch this. Against the Samaritans. Do you see this right here? Look at all these. Against the Essenes. Against the Essenes. Unfortunately, when you go and read, he doesn't say much about the Essenes. Sorry about that. Sabaeans, Gorethians, Docetians, the Sadducees, against the scribes, against the Pharisees, Hemro Baptists, here it is, the Nazarenes, the Oseans. I believe the Oseans are like doers of the people that like doers of the word. All right. We believe they also exist amongst the Bishop Church. Here it is, against Herodians. Okay. So as you can see, nowhere does it say it's against Christians. Huh? Watch this. Against Simonians. You have people that follow Simon, Menander, Saturnalius, the Basilius, the Nicolaitans. We see the Revelation where it said in the Nicolaitans I hated. Capricatetians, Cerinthians. Here it is. Against the Nazarenes, against the Ebionites. He does not one time say against the Christians, because the first Christians at that time were called Nazarenes and Ebionites. Against Valentinians, Scrutinians, Ptolemans, Marcians, Calabasians, Herculeanites, Ophites, Cainites, Sathians, Archonites. As you can see, Marcionites, Palians, Severians, and Tatianians. Nowhere does it say against Christians, because they know that the first Christians were the Ebionites, so-called Nazarenes. Okay, now we're going to go into his book and see what he says. Okay, and I believe I skipped one. I did skip one. I'm gonna go back to Eusebius. Okay, now let's look at Epiphanius. Okay, this is book chapter 30. This is going to be in passages 6 and 7. I don't know why they didn't send it, so I'm going to go back to Epiphanius, book 30, 6 and 7, since we already heard. I want to view this tab in StreamYard. Hold on. Okay, sir. Book 30, 6 and 7. I'm going to jump down. Bear with me. Let's find this page. Hope I didn't jump down too far. Yeah, it looked like I jumped down too far. That's Valentine. I know they came. Oh, yeah, so we almost there. Should be somewhere around pages 130 and 140, I believe. And I thank you guys in sa.neter for giving me this opportunity. All right. Valentines. Let's go up some more. It's taking a little too much time. Okay, let's keep going. This might be it right here. Who is this? Who we talking about? Okay, Ebionites. Here we go. So what did it say? 36 and 7. So as you can see, Ebionites. So we should be in 36 and 7. Okay. Let's go down to 6 and 7. Here we go. Here it is. During this time, Josephus, everyone knows about Josephus, mind was often troubled over the rites that had been performed in the affair of the baptism, and he was considered what he should do. Now there was a Gazo Felicium, which was sealed. Gaza means treasure in Hebrew. As many led different notations about this treasury because it's sealed. Josephus plucked up courage to open it and observe. As it says, and found no money but books money could not buy. Okay, browsing through them, he found the Gospel of John translated from the Greek to Hebrew, as I said, and the Acts of the Apostles and Matthew's Gospel, moreover, which actually was Hebrew. Another church father and a witness let you know that Matthew compiled his gospel in Hebrew, and Epiphanius is letting you know that Josephus, okay, I think this is a different, it's not the same, no, this is a different Josephus, if I'm not mistaken. But this Josephus found in this treasure, like he said, something money can't buy. He found the Gospel of John translated from Greek to Hebrew, as he said, the Acts of the Apostles, and the Gospel of Matthew, which was actually in Hebrew, not in Greek. Okay, let's keep going. This is Epiphanius, book 46, 1 and 18. This would actually be Tatian, I believe. Tatian, correct. Tatian is going to tell you. And I believe he's the last one. I believe one of the last ones of the book in Epiphanius. I believe so. Yeah. Let's go to Tatian. Say 1 in 18. What is this? Okay. Against Tatianus. And we're going to go 1 in 18 real fast. She'll be like the last one, I believe, in 18. Okay. Here we go. I mean, sorry, 1 in 8. I don't know why I said 18. So I'm going to just read it, okay? Here it is right here. 6, 7. For after the perfecting of Saint Justin, he removed from Rome to the east and lived there, and falling into an evil way of thinking, he too introduced certain eons in the style of Valentinus mythology and certain principles and emanations. He established his teachings mostly between Antioch by Daphne and Cecilia, all right? But even more in Pisidia for the so-called Encratites. He gotten their share of his poison from him in succession. It is said that Deuterion, this is some weird name, sorry, which some call according to the Hebrews, which was written by him. So again, even Tatianists, okay, they knew about this gospel according to the Hebrews, which was well known at this time. And like I say, oh boy, we got 50 fragments, okay? And I'm not going to tell everybody where to find them at. You have to go find them yourself. And if Captain Tazaryach knows what's best, he'll go and do this research himself before he get himself into some trouble, before he come and debate me. Because, oh boy, I'm telling you, he stepped to this table. I'm going to show you everything that goes against what they teach out that New Testament, according to the first century sources and these apostles, or what they had in the original gospels and what it said first, okay? Let's keep going. We have this information. Now watch this. Oh, this is one of my favorite ones. Church Father Jerome, okay? This is D. Illustratus, okay? I'm going to share this tab. One of my favorite ones. He talks about Simon Peter. He talks about James the Just, the Lord's brother. Captain Tazaryach. I just gave you one of your helps right here. There it is, James the Just. I dare you not teach that, my brother. Let's keep going. Here's Matthew. Origin says Matthew, also called Levi, apostle and 4 times publican, composed a gospel at first published in Judea in Hebrew for the sake of those of the circumcision who believe. But this was afterward translated into Greek, which I read today, so-called. Though by what author is uncertain. I told y'all, remember, that the New Testament names did not appear until the 3rd and 4th century. He just told you by what author is uncertain. So we don't know what gospel of Matthew we got today. This is not the real Matthew. We are uncertain that they are not even certain that this is the real name. They don't even know who the name actually is. So remember, they were actually anonymous. They put those names on there. Again, Oregon is letting you know the author is uncertain of the Greek version of Matthew. Here it is. The Hebrew itself has been preserved until the present day in the library of Caesarea by pamphlets so diligently gathered. I have also had the opportunity of having the volume described to me by the Nazarenes of Beroea. These Nazarenes of Beroea, he said he was able to get this Hebrew method of gospel, Matthew, from the Nazarenes of Beroea in a city of Syria. Okay? Who uses it? Let's keep going. In this, it is to be quoted that whatever the evangelist, whether on this account or in person of our Lord and Savior, quotes the testimony of the Old Testament, I'm going to give. Now, here it is. sa.neter, excuse me. I'm going to give you a fragment. He does not follow the authority of the translators of the Septuagint, but the Hebrew. Here is a fragment. According to the fragment, it says, wherefore these two exist, okay? In the original gospel of Hebrew, in Matthew, what they found was, out of Egypt have I called my son. So sa.neter, that's why I go to tell you yesterday. Yes, we believe Yahshua went down to Egypt and learned a lot. We believe Moses learned a lot from the Egyptians, okay? We believe this. It's in our fragments. I'm rolling with you, Si. Now watch this side. Says nothing about Nazareth. It says, and for he shall be called a Nazarene. The fragment of the original Gospel of Matthew does not say anything about Nazareth. But only thing it says is he shall be called a Nazarene. Now, like I said, the day we get to debate Captain Tazaryach, we're going to debate what these original first Christians actually believe, opposed to the doctrines they teach. Let's keep going. And we almost done. Okay. Now, what I want to do is, okay. Right. What I want to do is, because we never really got a chance to expound on the Essenes, there are three people that you guys can go and research that talked about the Essenes: Josephus, Philo, and Hippolytus of Rome. Now, I'm going to show you guys something. I'm going to go into Josephus. Josephus is going to tell you. And I'm going to read a good thing about the Essenes. We're going to let you decide whether Jesus belonged to the sect of the Essenes, Nazarenes, or Ebionites, or did he belong to the Pharisees or the Sadducees? Okay. This is Josephus, his account, one of the first century historians and who was around of the time of these Nazarenes. Okay. Here we have it. Josephus on the Essenes. The custom of the Essenes, here it is. For there are three philosophical sects amongst the Jews. Now remember, Paul was considered the sect of the Nazarenes. A sect is a religious group. The Nazarenes, the Essenes, and the Ebionites were a religious group. The Essenes are Jews by birth. And seem to have a greater affection for one another. Not like those Pharisees we just seen. You know what? I'm not even finna go there. But y'all seen what just happened over these past couple of weeks. We, the Essenes, have a greater affection towards one another. These Essenes reject pleasures as evil. We see all through the documents how Jesus tells you reject lust and all that. But it's abstain abstinence and the conquest over our passions to be virtue. They do not marry. We see verses where Jesus told people that there were some people who became eunuchs by spirit for the kingdom of God, which means they became celibate for the kingdom of God, but chose out other people's children while they are pliable for learning, and judged them to be their family and formed them according to their own manners. They do not absolutely deny the fitness of marriage, okay, and continuity of mankind that it ensures, but they guard against the lascivious acts, okay, of women. They guard against the lascivious behavior of women and believe that no woman is faithful to one man. I mean, we can look around in society and see that today. Oh, these Essenes was cold. Let's keep on going. These men despise riches. Didn't Yahshua and the apostles despise riches in your Acts and all that? And hold their property in common, okay? Now, I'm going to show you that they hold their property in common real quick. We're going to show some of these things in the New Testament, okay? Right here. Okay, I'm going to see if I can find it real fast. We're going to show some of these attributes, okay? And I'm done after this as I read on these Essenes. If we got questions, we'll go ahead, okay? I'm going to see if I can find it first. Bear with me real quick. It was one of the men that held back land from the apostles.
All right, yo, my brother, let's do a part 2.
Want to do a part 2?
Yeah, we got to do a part 2 because I got to hear something.
Do a part 2. We'll stop right there, man. So we do know that there was 3 philosophical sects: Pharisees, Sadducees, and Essenes. Okay, I'm cool with that. I'm cool with that.
Okay, so Captain Tazaryach, Apostle, and whoever else, y'all been called out. Whoever else want to smoke, the brother bringing that fire. I don't think y'all know these scriptures as he's telling y'all. So, yeah, I want this smoke. Hit me up, and we can make it happen with this brother. Apostles in the chat. I think Apostle don't want this smoke with this brother. You know, he's gonna make up an excuse. You see him up there on the screen saying through water. What does through water pose to mean? Thank you. That pose to mean thank you, right? The water. They learn a little Hebrew and don't know how to, it's great.
Hey, look, sa.neter. When I say they believe like you, man, like listen.
Yes, it means thank you. Apostle say yes.
Remember when you talked about all that? You said something yesterday. I love that you said it. You said that all this like fantasy stuff.
Right.
Man, listen. In the original, in the Clementine homilies, which is one of the books of the Ebionites, that's what they said. They said if anyone believe any of these vain, dream-like, polytheistic things against the Most High, he will be believed because from a childhood he has been accustomed to take in things spoken against God. So we with you, Si. We don't believe all this fancy word, Lord of the Rings, Jesus coming back to earth after his death. We don't believe none of that word stuff. None of this taught in the original gospel according to Matthew, sa.neter. So like I said, King, I'm calling them all out. I dare them step to this.
Moses 777. If you hear this, all of y'all get called out. All of y'all.
All of them.
Faking the funk with this, man. Y'all faking the funk. And Apostle running around telling everybody he done beat me in a debate when everybody know it was a landslide. Everybody know it was a landslide. I won all 3 rounds. He didn't win 1 round because he did not prove anything. He didn't prove anything. Oh man, he didn't prove a nation. He didn't. What the hell you talking about? I did prove a nation. He didn't prove a nation could get salvation. Yes, I did. I showed it to you. There was a whole nation of the Korah people who was demolished. And the Most High God did what? He killed over 1,400,000 of Israelites, swallowed them up through the earth, Apostle, because y'all were disobedient, because you were jealous of Moses and you was following Moses. That's in the book of Numbers, brother. That's in the book of Numbers. And so when you talk about, oh, Israel going to be saved, no, the hell they not. They got swallowed up by the earth. You don't get saved because of your name or your blood. You get saved because of your what? How you get saved? Apostle says, stop lying to yourself. I hear you, Apostle. My man, Apostle. Yeah, brother. Anyway, good presentation, brother.
Thank you.
Good presentation, and I gotta be out. I'm out of here right now.
Okay. Peace
All
out.
right.
Thank you.
Peace to you, brother. Peace. Apostle, if you want to smoke, hit me up. Call me. Peace. We out.